All right, for all you RF technicians out there, you know that sinking feeling. Systems go dark, and none of the usual tricks are working. It's a scenario that just might point to something a little more deliberate than simple equipment failure: intentional jamming. So in this field guide, we are going to walk through exactly how to handle that, from the moment the call comes in all the way to filing that final report. Okay, before we dive in, we've got to cover something really important. This is part 7 of a 20-part tutorial, and it's all based on a fantastic report from RFI detectives. Everything we're talking about today is purely for educational and interference mitigation purposes. Let's be crystal clear. Using radio jamming equipment is illegal in most places, and the penalties can be really severe. Our job is to help you find, locate, and report these signals, not create them. So we're going to tackle this in 4 main parts. First, we'll cover how to spot the symptoms of jamming. Then, we'll get into analyzing the RF spectrum. After that, the exciting part, pinpointing the jammer's location. And finally, we'll wrap up with the essential protocol for field response and reporting. Right, so let's put ourselves right in that situation. The phone rings, systems are down. Your first job is to cut through that initial chaos and really start diagnosing what's going on. And that all begins with asking the right questions from the get-go. And this, right here, is the million-dollar question you have to answer. You know, a sudden, widespread outage just feels different from a single server failing. So are you looking at a simple malfunction, or is someone out there actively trying to shut you down? To figure that out, you have to start with some basic triage. Ask these questions immediately. What specifically has failed? Get an exact time for when the problem started. Is this failure happening everywhere, or is it stuck in one specific area? And hey, has anything changed nearby? New construction? A big event? The answers to these questions start to paint a much clearer picture. Now, the source report lays out this really solid 4-step approach. First, you confirm the real-world impact on operations. Then, you break out the spectrum analyzer. Next, you figure out the characteristics of that weird signal. And finally, you go through and rule out every other possibility. Following these steps is what separates a wild guess from a professional diagnosis you can stand behind. Okay, so you've got a strong suspicion that it's jamming. Now it's time to find the proof. This is where we shift into full-on technical analysis, and your spectrum analyzer becomes your absolute best friend. And listen, this part is non-negotiable. Before you can spot what's abnormal, you have to know what normal looks like. If you don't have baseline spectrum readings for your operational areas, you are basically flying blind. It's the most critical first step. Just look at the difference here. It's like night and day. On one side, you've got a clean, normal spectrum. You see your signals nice and stable, right where they're supposed to be. But on the other side, it's chaos. That's what jamming looks like. The whole background noise level is just lifted way up, or you see these bizarre, powerful signals that have no business being there. So these are the telltale signs, the smoking guns you're looking for in that screen. That rise in the broadband noise floor, that's the most common one. It's like someone turned on a giant static machine. Or you might see a single, strong signal parked right on your frequency. More advanced jammers might use a signal that sweeps across frequencies or blast out structured pulses to cause disruption. All right, you've confirmed it. The evidence is right there on your screen. Now comes the really fun part. We put on our detective hats because it's time to hunt for the physical source of that signal. The main technique we're going to use here is called direction finding, or DF. It's a classic for a reason. Basically, you use a special antenna to figure out the direction the signal's coming from. You take a reading from one spot, then move and take another. Where those 2 lines cross on a map, well, that's where you'll find your jammer. So, what do you need to pack for this hunt? Well, you'll need a good directional antenna, like a Yagi. Obviously, you're bringing your spectrum analyzer. A tripod is a must for getting stable, accurate readings. And don't underestimate the power of a good, detailed map of the area to plot your bearings. And this breaks it down so simply. Step 1, you set up your antenna and slowly rotate it until that signal on your analyzer is screaming at its loudest. Mark that direction on your map. Step 2, you pack up, move a good distance away, at least 100 meters, and do the exact same thing again. Step 3, you draw those 2 lines on your map and boom, the spot where they intersect is your target. But, of course, the real world loves to throw curveballs. You have to be ready for challenges. What if the jammer turns on and off? Or if you're in a city, signals can bounce off buildings, that's called multipath, and send you in the wrong direction. And what if the jammer is in a car, moving around? It makes things tougher, for sure, but the basic method still works. Okay, so you've found it. You've pinpointed the source. This is a huge moment, but what you do next is maybe the most important part of the whole process. This is where your professionalism and sticking to protocol are absolutely critical. Once you find that source, this protocol is non-negotiable. First things first, do not approach the source yourself. Your first call is to your supervisor and then to the proper authorities, like the FCC's Enforcement Bureau. Second, get your operations switched over to your backup communication channels ASAP. And third, while it's all fresh in your mind, document everything. And when I say document everything, I mean you have to be meticulous. You need exact timestamps for a timeline. List every single frequency that was affected. You need to define the precise geographic area of the outage, describe the operational impact, what actually stopped working, and take pictures of everything, your gear, your readings, the location. Every single detail matters. The report puts this perfectly, and it's so important I'm just going to say it word for word. Evidence preservation protocols must be established to ensure that collected data is admissible for legal proceedings. See, your notes and your data aren't just for a tech report, they're evidence, and you have to treat them like that from the very beginning. And of course, a huge shout out and thank you to RFI Detectives, which is part of Virtualization Options LLC, for putting together the amazing and comprehensive report that made this whole explainer possible. So, we'll leave you with this one final really important thought. From the second you even suspect jamming, you're not just troubleshooting, you're collecting evidence. Your logs, your screenshots, your notes, your pictures, they all become the foundation for any official action that follows. So the real question you gotta ask yourself is, are your field procedures really ready for that challenge?